Yeah, all right. So I recently finished up my first run of Ocarina of Time, which, spoiler alert, not too bad. And during that playthrough, I promised that I would go straight into Majora's Mask afterwards. Little did I know this was actually a personal attack on my mental well-being because my already fragile emotions were about to get bent to their absolute limits. On this episode of Old Man Plays Old Games Very Late, I get to tell you how Majora's Mask didn't just deliver a great follow-up to my new all-timer, but reaffirmed my real-life ability to remain optimistic in the face of impending doom. Quick note before he starts his obnoxious retelling of art. If you're new here, he's about to spoil the ever-loving balls out of this game and some of the heaviest pieces within it. If you have even a small interest in playing Majora's Mask, please don't watch this video. Everyone who wants it deserves to experience this game blind if possible. So if you gotta bounce, thank you for coming. Have a great day. I'll have another video in like 8 years or something, so subscribe. Okay, bye. See you next time. See you later. Okay, bye. Otherwise, back to Dingus. Majora's Mask was released in the Y2est of Ks just a little over a year after the new King of Gamers dropped and changed a bunch of little kids' brain chemistry. Meanwhile, I'm still oblivious to all that the Zelda franchise has to offer and just kicking it with my shiny Zubat. Except now, we're in glorious Technicolor, Pikachu follows us around, and I'm transitioning from boy bands to bands with the boys. As years passed, I would learn about Zelda generally from being around the Sweaties, but Majora's Mask had always especially eluded me because the game itself, while being acclaimed by the fandom, was never really part of the overall pop culture zeitgeist that I had consumed. So I've been living in blissful ignorance from Majora's cruelty for the last 20, 30 some odd years. And let me tell you something, ignorance truly is bliss because this game's story is not one that follows the traditional find the princess, save the world formula, but instead offers up a deep web of loss, regret, trauma, and discovery. So get ready, because here comes the pain. We open by watching Link, or Jumblin if you're nasty, riding through the forest looking for Navi, who decided to leave you at the altar with one extra hole in the heart after finally saving the world in the last one. As you're searching for Tinkerbell, you get ambushed by a lost boy in a spooky scary mask who straight up kidnaps Wendy. You catch up to that sticky son of a bitch and his two fairy accomplices, but instead of finding our best girl, he taunts you with just a touch of his power by turning you into a little tree boy, which objectively is not great. He leaves behind one of his buds to catch hands, but to save her own face, she says she'll lead you to where he's hiding. Unfortunately for your Knuckles, you agree. Make your way out of tree prison and arrive in Termina. The very first person you meet here, a weirdo with Mario's face on his back. Mask Man here says there's a special mask that was stolen from him by a little turd in the woods. Sounds familiar. And if you bring it back to him with the ocarina, he'll get you back into your boy body. Oh, and by the way, not like a huge deal or anything, but you've only got 3 days to do it. Brother, I just got here with a new body. How am I supposed to find this asshole and get your little Halloween costume back in only 72 hours? After being given your first of many panic attacks, you walk out of the tower and into a town with a bunch of familiar faces, but something feels off. Did we just get teleported to yet another timeline? Or maybe we're in a dream or something. Maybe if I wake up, Epona will still— Ow! Mother bitch! You start your head hunt in the north and find the Great Fairy broken up into a bunch of tiny baby fairies by Skull Kid. When you return one of those strays and restore a fairy mother to her great baddie glory, she grants you the power of Goop. This gives you your magic meter so you can shoot snot bubbles for defensive measures. Unfortunately, she doesn't know where Skull Kid is either, but she does tell you about a man in the observatory outside of town that might know where he's hiding. To get there, you gotta chase down a bunch of kids called the Bombers, so they'll let you use their secret passageway, which is just the sewers, by the way. Nice work, kids. Definitely not a shitty hideout. You skip across the Dookie Water and meet up with Gandalf, who confirms that Skull Kid has been causing mischief all over town and even stole something from him, too. He tells you to take a gander through the telescope there, and at the top of the tower in the middle of town, you finally see Skull Kid twerking the night away on the roof. With your target acquired, you run back up the tower and find him floating under a scary-ass moon. Tail, the other fairy bud, tries to tell you where to get some help, but with a terribly menacing, I don't give a fuck, actually, bring him out, he starts trying to Thanos the moon right onto your dome and subsequently the Earth. You nervous toot out a snot bubble and knock the ocarina out of his hand, which triggers a memory of Zelda gifting you the ocarina along with the Song of Time. She told you that if you play that song, the Goddess of Time will help you on your journey, and I don't really know what that means right now, but you don't got a lot of options. So you come to, grab the ocarina, or back trumpets? Hell yeah, big back band. And start whistling Dixie when everything gets all Alice in Wonderland and you're transported back to the dawn of the first day. This is the introduction of the primary gimmick for this installment of Zelanda, time travel shenanigans. Back at the Mask Man, he plays you a song that heals evil magic and troubled spirits and traps them in masks. So your face drops off your body, and guess what? You get to keep this one as a memento. Gross. Now that Mr. Bendy has held up his end of the bargain, it's your turn. But, uh-oh, you're empty-handed. The dude freaks the fuck out on you and tells you about the dangers of Majora's Mask. Apparently, it's a cursed item used in ancient rituals that holds immense power and imbues that power onto the wearer. Legend has it that its dark and evil power will bring about the end of the world, which... Yup, checks out. At this point, you're only like an hour into the game, so you thought Ocarina was quick to start? This thing right here starts you at the ending, just so you know what the fuck is up. The bad news is, you ain't shit right now, so you're gonna have to explore the world and gear up before trying to stop the end of existence. Woof. The time mechanic is such a cool twist on the Zelda formula. It starts out pretty anxiety-inducing, knowing that you're trying to stop the Earth from being destroyed by an ancient god in a scarecrow skin suit. But once you realize that even if you mess up the order of operations, you can just reset to day one and try again, you're able to settle in and enjoy the ride. And I use the word enjoy very loosely, because they're not gonna let you forget that death is coming for everyone. If you look down here, you've got this pocket watch front and center at all times, and starting at midnight on the third day, you get the added bonus of feeling the ground shake and seeing the moon drop a little closer to the Earth every hour. It's a subtle in-world way to escalate that sinking feeling that you're absolutely boned. To help the nerves, they not only let you reset the 3-day cycle, but also jump to different parts of the day or even slow down time to half speed. You better make it part of your morning routine though, Buster, because if you forget to toot your horn after cranking out your pull-ups, it's gonna be moon-face blowy uppy time before you even get a chance to check your crypto portfolio. It's just so stupid. What a dumb joke. I like that this is something you can forget to do, because for me it helped to keep the cycle in front of my mind when planning out my routes and what I wanted to do next, which first order of business is dungeons, right? It is a Zelda after all. Well, unfortunately for some folks, there's not that many dungeons in this one, and the rewards are basically just bow, then new arrows, then other new arrows, then other arrows. But before you run off and start talking about, this is the smallest and most boring Zelda, no dungeons. Shut up, Timmy. Put your Capri Sun down and let me tell you a little something. See, in order to traverse each of the 4 main dungeons, you need to obtain a transformation mask, which gives you multiple abilities that the traditional dungeon items would have granted you. Like the Zora mask, for instance, gives you Iron Boot walk underwater moves, built-in wrist boomerangs, plus swimming and aura. You do gotta pay an emotional damage tax for that extra juice though, in the form of body horror. That zoom in on Link's face as he screams in pain with his bones and meat being rearranged in real time is disgusting. I endured these for way too long until someone in chat let me know that you can skip them with the R button, which just tells me that the Zelda team knew they were handing out nightmares for free. These dungeons, few as they may be, are awesome. They're all themed incredibly well, with the setting, music, and mechanics coming together to make these memorable set pieces that also serve as milestones for your growth. Even the bosses are all themed really well and were very fun to go through. Except for you, George. You can kick fucking rocks, you fish jerk. To get around and find all the dungeons, you're gonna need to visit our old friend Tingle, but instead of giving him $17 million to just read maps, he's an old dude who believes he's a fairy and is trying to live out his own truth while scrapping for cash to impress his dad. And you know what, King? Hell yeah. Me and Tingle, we're boys now. I'm converted. But it wasn't the dungeons and traditional gameplay loop that got me hooked on Majora's Mask, though. Oh no, that's all thanks to a little old thing we in the business like to call My primary games of choice have always been platformers and puzzle games, but in my limited not that shit experience, I've always been a main quest Mandy and just rolled my way through the primary objectives to get to the top of Mount Shout and become an ultimate dragon baby as quick as possible. I've never really felt the need to run around reading every mundane text box just to find the one or two NPCs that actually have something worth a shit to say. Oh, you wanted to let me know that the Pokemon Center that we're currently standing in, with a nurse right over there at the counter, heals my Pokemon? Cool. But here in Termina, almost every single character has a storyline of their own. It's such an incredibly engaging world to explore and has this way of making you need to figure out everyone's mystery while still pushing towards the ultimate goal. Instead of only having the familiar gameplay loop of crawl a dungeon, get an item, get harder, better, faster, stronger, you're presented with like 1,000 side quests that give you additional masks as rewards. These masks affect how you interact with the world and give you different abilities to progress through the game or unlock useful items for your journey. Along with the 3 transformational masks that I mentioned earlier, there are 20 others that give you specific abilities for things like hiding in plain sight, or making animals march behind you, or blowing up your own body. Cute! In order to get all of these masks, you need to interact with as many people as possible in the world to learn about their stories and see if you can help them along the way. They're all so engaging that I even began to take real-life notes to track my own progress towards solving a mystery. Every time I would start a dialogue with an NPC, I was greeted with some new information that would make me go, okay, what's that now? You go where? With who? Hold on. I need to make this note. Hold on. The Bomber's Notebook that you get early in the game shows you when in the cycle you need to encounter that character in order to progress too. So the combo wombo of in-game and IRL notes kept me locked in like I was a tiny detective in a cold, cruel world. There are multiple masks that are directly tied to other storylines, which weaves this inescapable tapestry of heartbreak and hope and sets this game apart from anything else I've ever played before. I could do like 4 or 5 videos on all of them, but let's just focus in on a few that affected me so deeply I was moved to tears. We'll start small and work our way up. First up on the Jangle Cried Like a Child Awards, once you make it to Akana Canyon, you find this Radio Shack sitting in the middle of a dried up riverbed surrounded by Gibdos. If you try to go inside for safety, you get yelled at by someone saying their dad isn't one of you. Rude. I'm not trying to sell you Tupperware here, dude. I just don't want to get spooked, okay? By doing a little sleuthing, you find that the music hut is supposed to be powered by the river, and the song that it plays is one that keeps the spirits at bay. And by the look of this thriller-ass scene, that shit only works while the record is spinning. So you fight through some ninjas and find that the source of the river is being blocked by a ghost conductor, but no big deal, because you got the power of God and anime in your flute. So you play the Song of Storms at him and make it rain on his ass, causing the river to flow and the music hut to play once again. Now that the shack isn't being surrounded by mummies, you wait for that little girl who yelled at you to leave so you can go inside and find out who sings that song to add it to your Spotify playlist. Unfortunately, when you get to the basement and open up Shazam on your phone, you get jump scared by a zombie mummy busting out of the closet. You could fight it, but thinking back to what the girl was saying at the door, the only folks that should be in here are her and her dad. So you gotta think fast. One song of healing later, his infection drops to the floor and the little girl Pamela runs in to embrace her father. Confused, the dad asks what he's been doing the whole time, and Pamela, with the strongest, most courageous spirit I've seen, tells him, "You weren't doing anything. You had a bad dream. You were just having a little nightmare." The fact that this child has the emotional maturity to comfort her father after being traumatized herself is just absolutely gut-wrenching. As a dad myself, it's one of my greatest fears to not be able to care for and provide for my family. So seeing this fear played out in real time, then flipped on its head by reversing the roles of provider and dependent, is ruining. So that was just a little taste of the emotional trauma I went through during this bullshit game. Let's follow that up with a little creature feature and a side of existential horror. Early in the game, while exploring the world, I came across this giant boulder blocking a path with a dude trying his best to pickaxe it out of the way. If you come back on day 3, the big strong boy has mined it to dust, and you can travel to the end of the Milk Road to find Romani Ranch, where the town's supply of magic milk is produced, which, side note, is probably actually a full-on drug in this world, because when you drink it, you get unlimited magic for 3 days, like you're on a head trip from licking a frog or something. That's some good shit right there, dude. Damn. Here you meet the ranch's namesake, Romani, who is dazed and confused, sitting under a balloon and very clearly dealing with something. Then inside the barn, you find her sister, Crimea, who has got like a lot on her mind, with the ranch not producing milk anymore, and something about having should have listened to Romani. Checking your diary shows that their quests are in the first 2 days, but how do when Big Rock no move? Curiosity spiked, I ran around Termina looking for some way to help Minecraft Steve and eventually found the Tsar Bomba in Goron City. After saying night-night to a little baby, a big ghost baby, and a big goat baby. One Groundhog Day later, you get to meet Romani on day 1 with a very different demeanor. She's roaming around the field practicing her best Legolas because she's seen aliens taking the cows at night. But Romani asks for help, and of course you agree. One Independence Day later, you save the cows and the ranch is operational again. Now that the supply has been saved, Crimea asks you for help delivering the milk to town because she's afraid of being ambushed, and wouldn't you know it, she was right as hell. On the way to town, you fight off the Mario brothers, who very likely moved on from mushrooms after gaining a tolerance, and successfully escort the milk girls to safety. They make their delivery and reward you with the Romani mask, which grants you access to the milk bar. JB, what's so heavy about this one? I hear you asking from the comfort of your toilet. Well, let's think back to how we found our sweet girls. For one, if you fail the alien fight, you see a cutscene where the cows are beamed up to the mothership, but so is Romani. Because you can't gain access to the ranch until day 3 without the big bomb, you realize that you found her dazed out because she was abducted by aliens the night before and has been traumatized by the experience. Then Crimea is obviously fucked up about it because she didn't listen to her little sister, and now Romani has to live her life in the shadow of being kidnapped when she tried to warn her protector? This one is a slow burn type hit to the feelings because you're only putting the pieces together after the fact, and then it just sits on your conscience for the rest of the playthrough. Because, like, just think about it. Every time you reset the cycle, Romani is reliving that trauma and having to experience who knows what horrors over and over again. Not only the unimaginable damage that Romani has endured, but the crippling regret that Crimea must feel after the fact. This quest is insane, dude. Are we sure this game is made for babies? My God. If you're not ruined yet, don't worry. This next one will take you right over the line. This quest is a doozy. It's long and it's given to you in pieces throughout the game, so much so that at a certain point, the game was more Couple's Mask than Majora's Mask for me. I was so invested in this story, and goddamn what a payoff I got for it. Early in my run, I encountered a woman sitting on a bench, alone in the rain. Her name is Anju, and she's looking for her fiance, Kafe, who disappeared about a month ago, and she's worried that it's her fault. After she shows me what he looks like by wearing his face, I turn around and notice a wild Pikachu with some familiar hair, but he's too fast for me to catch, so we'll worry about that later. Farting around town, I find his mom, the First Lady of Termina, who gives me the same mask that Anju had and tasks me with looking for her son. Good news for you, lady. My heart's already been tugged on by the grieving woman in the rain, so I'm ready for a manhunt. To get a good plan together, I check my handy-dandy notebook and see that the first event on the list is with Anju. So I find her at the inn where she receives the letter from Kafe. The mailman is super helpful too when she asks about where he got the letter, but even with that hot tip, she asks me to meet her at midnight to talk about it some more. When I did, she gives me another letter to drop in the mailbox, which she thinks will finally allow us to meet Kafe and see what the deal is. After the letter is delivered that afternoon, I remembered the Pikachu that got away earlier, so on a hunch, I went to see if that door was open, and luckily my brain was firing correctly because sure enough, that door was unlocked and we are in, baby! Inside, I met with the little guy who recognizes me from Anju's letter and then reveals himself to be Kafe, but in kid form. He explains that he got devolved by Skull Kid, but that's not why he's hiding. When he got Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he went to the Great Fairy for help, but got mugged on his way, and his wedding ceremony mask was stolen by some lanky piece of shit. The only clue that we were given was where Kafe was robbed. So doing a little more sleuthing around the Great Fairy's cave, you see a dude who fits the description being all weird behind some rocks. If you watch him long enough, you can catch him in the act stealing a giant sack of bombs from a little old lady, which You know what? Never mind. We don't have time. So I ran back to tell Cafe we found the guy, but he's not in his hidey hole anymore. Instead, we are greeted by the shopkeeper who tells us about Cafe running after a regular of his from Akana Village. He also has another letter for you to deliver from Cafe, but this one is for his mom's. One more delivery down, I headed to Akana Village looking for Cafe and find Sack of Shit again. Exploring alongside the river leads you to his hideout, where we find Cafe, maskless, waiting for old boy to come open the door so he can go in and take back what's his. And this bit only happens on the final day too, so as time ticks on and the moon rumbles ever closer, the nerves kick into overdrive. Finally, Sackboy prances his way down the canyon and opens up his no longer secret lair, and we run in behind him and find Cafe's mask displayed like a rare trophy. Unfortunately, in an Indiana Jones style of events, he triggers a trap that sends the mask down a conveyor belt of doom, where if we don't get to it in time, not only does Sackoff get away, but the mask drops into the hole where we'll never see it again. So with time ticking and blood pumping, you work in tandem with Cafe to alternate solving block puzzles and hitting switches to open the next door, and the camera even switches to a top-down perspective so that you can not only see the switches and blocks, but also the mask moving along the belt almost like a fuse, which is terribly fitting because this whole sequence is what I imagine it feels like to be a real-life bomb diffuser. 16 mini heart attacks later, we finally get through the last door and catch the mask just in time. This was such a giant relief that I honestly could have picked up smoking again. You can't hold on to that relief for very long though, because now you got to run back to town to make it to Anju before the moon drops. Running with everything you got, we make it back to the inn and find Anju
in the bathroom. Oh, I'm sorry. What the fuck was that? I'm sorry?
waiting for Cafe at the end of the world, despite being begged to leave by her family. Soon after, Cafe enters the room, and finally, the two lost lovers have been reunited and carry out their promises made long ago by exchanging masks and becoming a couple for the rest of their short lives. In spite of everything that they went through and directly in the face of apocalypse, they still managed to find each other and fulfill their dreams of being together. The line that's truly devastating is when they tell you to take refuge from the coming destruction. They say, and I quote, "We're fine here. We shall greet the morning together." This entire scene is both heartwarming and gut-wrenching because not only do they know that the world is ending, they're accepting it. Because as long as they're together, the world doesn't end. Their love is so strong and now official that it will live on forever, even if they don't. This quest is a perfect example of what makes the game so special to me. Throughout this mission, I not only helped Anju and Cafe, but I helped the mom, the mailman, the little old lady from the bomb shop, the shopkeeper, and even got a massive lore dump from Anju's grandmother with the night mask. All of these stories connect to one another and make the world seem so alive. Everyone in this town is living their own life and dealing with their own issues prior to the same inevitable ending, and you, unburdened by time, have the opportunity to help them at least feel some sense of relief before the end of everything. However, the dichotomy of this game is that while you're trying to gear up to save the world from impending destruction, you're also attempting to give everyone a tiny glimpse of hope for a tomorrow that you know isn't coming. In my waking life, I'm a really optimistic dude. I like to think that people are generally good and that with a positive outlook, the universe has a way of bringing good things to people that are good to others. There are obviously terrible exceptions to this in our cruel existence, but in times of despair, I prefer not to dwell on the negative aspects without working towards some type of resolution or relief. Through this game, though, every time I reset the cycle, it made me question that deep-seated belief. Because even with the small relief that the people of Termina receive from your good deeds, it can begin to feel pointless when a reset means that they have to relive their individual traumas or forget that hope, even though it's necessary to save the world for good. The only way I could make it through was to cling to that hope with the faith that all of these efforts won't be in vain. Even if I couldn't save everyone in a single cycle, I hoped that at least in some branched timeline, they could live their lives without trauma or fear and see the tomorrow that wouldn't come in this one. Which reminds me, let's get back to the beginning with Skull Kid and see if we can't help one last person. After an innumerable amount of resets, each adding to the dog pile of guilt and existential crisis, you make your way back to the top of the tower where all this started. Except this time, you're a boy, armed to the teeth, and rolling deep with a giant crew. Man, look at those quads, boy. Holy leg day. Quickly bringing him down to earth, you realize that Skull Kid has not just been corrupted by the mask, but actually puppeted by it the whole time. So Majora kicks Skull Kid to the curb and finds a new host in the form of the moon itself and zips up into its gross nose. Once you beam me up, Scotty, you appear in a field with a single tree and with a group of children running around. What is happening? When you talk to each of the kids and give them your collection of masks, you're put through a final trial for each of the transformation masks that you picked up, and also given heavy psychic damage with a little gut punch at the end of each level.
Your friends, what kind of people are they? I wonder, do those people think of you as a friend?
Ouch!
What makes you happy? I wonder, what makes you happy? Does it make others happy too?
Fuck! Or my favorite.
Can I ask you a question? The right thing, what is it? I wonder, if you do the right thing, does it really make everybody happy?
God damn, dude. This game is so rude for this bit right here. I've already questioned my core belief system running through this minefield, and now you're gonna put some extra sauce on it and really rub in the doubt right at the end? Shut up, game. Haven't you done enough? After each of the Moon Baby Psychonauts have their mental way with you, you speak to the final child wearing Majora's mask. This is where my diligence paid off, because I decided early on to get all the masks before trying the final boss fight, and sweet Lord am I glad that I did. By giving away all 20 of the additional masks to his brothers, Majora gifts you with a fourth missable transformational mask, the Fierce Deity's mask. Putting this mask on transforms you into a god and lets you absolutely melt the 3 phases of Majora's horror show of a boss fight: Spaghetti Monster, the Insanity, and uh-oh, we're in trouble. What's incredible about the FD mask, while it certainly makes you overpowered, is that it feels extremely earned, since you can only obtain it by helping everyone in Termina. It feels to me like this is a manifestation of all the people's gratitude for your help in the face of hopelessness, which is borne out in an overwhelming strength that you could not have achieved without ensuring that each person was able to feel some strength of their own. With the spirit of the people, you dust Majora and the moon with it, and are rewarded with the dawn of a new day. When you come to, you find Skull Kid, no longer possessed by evil, realizing that all along he thought that his friends, the Giants, had forgotten about him, but knowing now that they would still come to his aid even after all this time, Skull Kid can leave that darkness behind and begin the rest of his life no longer alone, with friends old and new alike. Majora's Mask is not your mama's Zelda. With its focus on side quests to make this world come to life and completely envelop you in its atmosphere and story, it's a far cry from get the jewels, get the coins, kill the monster. Hell, even the main quest turned out to be a side quest in disguise, with Skull Kid being another victim of Majora the whole time. This game has moved me in a really deep way, one that has sat with me ever since I finished it, and I don't think it'll ever leave. Much like Link putting on a mask, it even transformed me from a simple point A to point B gamer boy to someone who takes frickin' notes in a real life notebook. Like, who even am I anymore? I definitely didn't see the personal growth coming when I started this experience. I'm more of an optimist now than even I was before, because while it may just be confirmation bias, it is nice to think that if you take the time to help the people around you, even as you know despair exists, it can pay off enormously in the end. There's nothing that compares to Majora's Mask for me. It's not only my new all-time Zelda, but my favorite piece of media, and I don't think that'll change anytime soon. So thank you, Zelda team, for creating this experience for us, and enjoy your very, very long reign at the top. Now, where do you rank it? And what did I miss in all of my nonsense? I'd love to talk to you about it while I take way too long to write my next video about a girl from Seattle who falls in love with a vampire and a werewolf at the same time, but her dad's actually really mad about it and doesn't like it at all, or something like that. I don't know. We'll see when I get to Twilight.